Hi everyone, and welcome to this episode of Fan Art Friday. This week I'm working on a drawing of Ryuk from Death Note. I have really wanted to work on this drawing for quite a while, and I've recently been watching through the show, and I think it's absolutely amazing. And I thought this would be a really good challenge to take part during Inktober. I've been taking part in Inktober over on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram, and been posting daily drawings over on there, and I've been having so much fun working with inks. And I wanted to apply that to this drawing, trying out some inking with a brush pen. So as you can see, I started off the initial sketch with a mechanical pencil, and then once that sketch was completed, I went on to working on the outlines with a Pigma Micron number 5. I think this is 0.45mm, so it's quite thick, but it really helps to apply some dynamic lines and some dynamic shapes to the outlines initially, before adding the inking afterwards. I made sure to keep the lines as clean and as sharp as possible around the outer edges of the drawing, especially on Ryuk's hair and shoulders. And once I had the lines as I wanted them, that's when I moved on to using the Pentel pocket brush pen to add the rest of the inking. I wanted to add some darker inking around the right side of this drawing. The effect made most obvious on the right side of his hair, by adding a lot of shading with the brush pen and the Pigma Micron, making sure to leave some highlighted areas on the left side of the hair, and showing up some of that contrast between the shading and the highlights. The awesome thing about the Pigma Micron and the Pentel pocket brush pen is that I can use markers over the top of them and they won't bleed or smudge in any way. I hadn't worked on a drawing like this for quite a long time, but it's so fun to add the colouring over the top of this inking. And speaking of colouring, it was time to start working on that with Copic Markers. Starting off by adding some colouring to Ryuk's face with Cool Grey 1, 3 and 5. Using the Cool Grey 1 and 3 to add the lighter shading to begin with, and then using the Cool Grey 5 to add some darker shading around the eyes and around the right side of Ryuk's face, coinciding with the dark shading I added with the inking process earlier. For the colouring of Ryuk's eyes, I started off with a buttercup yellow, and then used Cool Grey 1 and 3 to add some shading around the outer edges of them. To add the red tones to the pupils, I used a crimson marker. To add little dots of highlighting to the eyes, I used a Uniball Signo Broad Pigment Ink white pen, and I also used this pen to add some highlighting to the tip of Ryuk's nose and to his lips. For the inside of Ryuk's mouth, I used a cardinal marker and also a Cool Grey 7 to add some darker shading around the outer edges. For his teeth, I used an eggshell marker to add a little bit of colouring, and then used a Cool Grey 5 to add some darker shading around the right side of each tooth, just to show them up and make them stand out. Once I completed the colouring of Ryuk's face, it was time to move on to the hair. And for this I used two different blues. I started off with a Prussian blue for the darker tones, especially around the right side of the hair, also using it to add some streaks on the left side of the hair, just to show up some texture and some depth in that area. And then to add the lighter tones to the hair, I used an ice blue marker. And this blue really works well alongside the Prussian blue. I was really pleased with how they worked in the hair. After that, it was time to add the rest of the shading to Ryuk's neck, and for that I used Cool Grey 1, 3, 5 and 7, making sure to add the darker shading to the right side of the neck and fading it outwards towards the left. I used a mixture of Cool Grey 3 and 5 for Ryuk's shoulders, and I also used Cool Grey 5 and 7 to add the shading to Ryuk's chest. Over the top of that I used ice blue to blend and match with Ryuk's hair. I think this really works well in having the blue at the top and the bottom of the drawing, especially having them the same tone so they match. And after that the drawing was completed, and overall it took about 4 hours to complete, and most of that time was taken up by inking. As I said before, I'm having so much fun working with inking at the moment, and I'm taking part in Inktober by working on a drawing every single day of the month. So be sure to check out on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram to see those drawings that I'm posting every day. I'm having so much fun with it, and it's been a really fun month so far. If you enjoy videos like this, then make sure to subscribe, and any likes, shares, that kind of support is always hugely appreciated, and it really means so much to me. Be sure to check out the Twitter, Facebook and Instagram if you want to follow along with progress photos for these drawings throughout the week. And once again, thank you so much for the support on this channel. It means so much to me, and I can't wait to work on the next drawing. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all soon.